Welcome back, and if this is your first time, thanks for watching. Today we are bringing you a cassoulet recipe. It's the French version of a cassoulet. Traditional cassoulets are made with white beans, so we are gonna make this as authentic as possible for you. Let's get started. I'm AJ from Savory Thoughts, and here are the ingredients that you will need to get started with your cassoulet. It is a very detailed dish, alright? It can be fairly expensive also. It depends on how you make it. We chose to make ours with beef tenderloins, beef ribs, beef salami, but you can easily make it with any other type of meat that you would like. There is no exceptions as to what type of meat you could use. Traditional cassoulets are made with pork. So traditional cassoulet uses white beans. This is what we are going to be using. White beans, typically, depending on the region where you are in the US, you may not be able to find the uncooked version. So for this one, we opted out for the canned version. So make sure you wash it thoroughly. It's already cooked, so you don't have to leave it overnight. But if you do use the actual uncooked version of white beans that you can find, typically the haricot blanc, that's what we use for the traditional dish, make sure to soak it overnight, and then you will boil it the next day. In this case, we are using the can, so we just washed it. One step that we are able to skip. Here is a duck. We were unable to find just simple duck legs because not very many people here in the US cook simply just duck legs. So we ended up purchasing an entire duck. So I will take the legs out and cook them specifically for this recipe. The traditional dish comes with duck confit, which is an already cooked duck legs that they utilize and either put it as a garnishment on top of the dish when it's done, or they put it inside the cassoulet when it's being cooked, so the fat and everything is cooked. So we are going to control the amount of fat that is in our dish. And of course we have a beef kielbasa or beef tenderloins, or filet mignon tips. Then we also have a salami. I ordered that from Amazon. You can get the beef salami. Again, like I said, traditional cassoulet is typically made with pork, but this time we are changing this with the complete beef version. And then we also have our ribs, the beef ribs, that we will also be cooking. Simple. Now, since we did not boil our beans, we cannot utilize the broth from the beans because we don't have it. So what I'm substituting instead is the actual beef broth that I'm gonna be cooking it in, all right? So that's what I would say would make it probably less traditional, but otherwise everything else is gonna be pretty authentic. So for our flavoring, we're gonna be using some tomato paste, garlic, always a go-to for making food taste exceptionally good, parsley, bay leaves, and of course salt and pepper. Now, salt and pepper, it's really your preference as far as taste. So I would say just add it based on your own taste buds. But start with about 1 teaspoon and then you can increase from there. If you really want to dilute the amount of salt, make sure that your broth has reduced sodium, and then also start with about 1/2 teaspoon to be on the safe side. Alright, so now that we have our ingredients prepared, what we are going to do is we are going to simmer the ingredients all together. Since we did not boil the beans, we want to make sure that the beans get all the flavors infused in it. So what I'm going to do is the parsley and the garlic, the bay leaf, and a little bit of the salt, not all of it because I'm going to need some of the salt to season this meat here. I'm going to add those in here so the beans can actually get all that flavor infused in it, and then I'm going to simmer it on the stove top. All right. let's first start with the duck. All we need is actual duck legs. Don't worry, folks, we're not gonna throw the rest of these away. So now first, let's start with a duck. It's gonna take a little longer to cook. I did, however, you know me, I wash my meat before I cook it, so listen to the sizzling sound. You know, guys, I like that, right? I like the sound of the sizzling sound of meat cooking. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna let it cook, and we're gonna let it cook on its own fat, on its own juices. So I did use a Cure cast iron. So I'm letting that cook in the cast iron pan. We're gonna use the fat when it's done in the actual cassoulet. We don't want to lose that fat. Again, keeping it as authentic as possible. Season it lightly with salt and pepper. The flavor is really going to come from our broth. So while the duck is cooking, I'm going to add my ribs. And what I'm looking for really is for all of these to cook in the fat, in its own fat. And that fat, it will be added in the cassoulet itself. So I'm using a fork to poke some hole in the duck, just to make sure that it cooks through. Alright, as you can see, our bean did not boil. I just let it to simmer. So now we're going to drain it. Let's go ahead and start removing our beans from the pot. So now we're gonna transfer our bean to the exact same cast iron pan that we were cooking the duck and the beef. So my sausage is already on there, as you can see. Now let's go ahead and drop the beans. Spread them evenly. So make sure that you strategically place your meat where it spreads out. So every bite should be full of flavor. And remember, our tenderloins, we did not cook it all the way. There is a reason for that. As this is baking, it will cook in the oven. And now we are adding the juices in here. Now let's go ahead and spread our breadcrumbs all over it. It needs to be well covered. After 30 minutes, go ahead and check to make sure that it is not dry. The breadcrumbs will soak some of the broth, so you may cut a small incision on the top and add more broth as needed. And just make sure to check it every 30 minutes. Go ahead and add the duck legs and let it cook the rest of the way so it could be nice and tender. And voila, our cassoulet is ready. And we can dig in it. And now you too can enjoy an authentic French dish from the comfort of your home. And thank you folks for watching. So if you like this video, please don't forget to subscribe, leave us a like, leave us a comment. Let us know if you tried it and how you enjoyed it, how you like it, and what you've done differently. Looking forward to hearing from you, and stay tuned for the next video.